Going once. Going twice. Got a question? Okay. Is that a question or a comment? So the brother asks me to share a proof that Jesus is God. Very well, I will. A clear proof that Jesus is God from Revelations 22, verse 12. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to render to every man according to what he has done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. According to Islam, who is the first and the last? What? God. Jesus calls himself the first and the last. So who is Jesus calling himself? Do you want to come round and talk? Looks like he wants to talk. So what's your name?
Adam.
How you doing, Adam?
I'm good.
So what was your point? What was your response?
So the response is, if you're going to use the Quran to find the terms of the Bible,
Yep.
it's like it says that Satan is all cursed. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Galatians it says Satan redeemed us from the curse. And because he redeemed us from the curse, he became a curse. Yeah, like all cursed. So if Satan is all cursed and Jesus became all cursed as well, it doesn't mean that they're the same people.
Okay, can I reply? Right, so your argument is fallacious because you think that I've used the Quran to prove that Jesus called himself God, right?
Yes.
That's not true. Jesus calls himself God in Revelations 22, where he says, I am the first and I am the last. That is not a Quranic idea. Let me finish, Adam. In Isaiah 48, God speaking says, listen to me, O Jacob, even Israel, I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. So it is an Old Testament title of God, that God is the first and God is the last, and Jesus is taking that Old Testament title and applying it to himself. What we have in the Quran is that the authors of the Quran are stealing the divine titles of Jesus that are rooted in the Old Testament and applying them to Allah.
But the Quran
Now,
doesn't have any author.
sorry?
The Quran isn't created and doesn't have any author.
It does have an author.
It wasn't created, never created.
The Quran is created.
It's not.
It's not from God.
It's revealed from God, but not created by God. It's revealed.
Well, I don't believe that it's created.
Yeah, well, it's not created.
Sorry, let me rephrase. I don't believe that it's from God, so for me, it's created.
Okay, but
And there's evidence that it's created. Would you like to hear the evidence that it's created?
Luke, let me just ask.
Well, you made a claim.
Yeah.
The Arabic language, how old is it?
Arabic language is very, very old. It would be like at the time of, Shem.
The Arabic language is less than 2,000 years old.
No, it's older than that.
We can see the historical development of the Arabic language. It evolves linguistically. And here's a proof that the Arabic language evolves linguistically, because the Quran, Muslims laud the Quran as having influenced the grammatical norms of the Arabic language, which means that the Arabic language evolved because of the Quran.
Yes, but it was.
Thank you,
before.
yes.
It's old. There's different types of Arabic, and the classical Arabic has never is still the same as since then. But
Where's your evidence that ancient man spoke Arabic?
the ancient man spoke Arabic. Have you heard of the Moabites? From the time
I'm
of
asking your evidence, yes.
yeah, it's my phone.
Go on, where's your evidence that ancient man spoke Arabic?
My phone's dead, but the ancient man at the time it was created by Hashem. I don't have
That's
evidence.
a claim. Where's your evidence that ancient man spoke Arabic?
All
you're doing is you're using one claim to back up another claim. I'm not asking you to give me a different claim. I'm asking you to give me evidence that ancient man spoke Arabic. Because if you can't, what we do see in the development of the Kufic script into what we call classical Arabic is a development of a language that is not recorded before we see evidence of it. And it emerges out of the Syriac language. For instance, I think the word Tor, there's a hadith, there's a surah in the Quran called mountain, isn't it? Correct? And it's called Tor, is that correct? Tor. T-O-R. Yeah, there is. Do you know? Tor. Surah al-Tor. And that means mountain, doesn't it? Right, now tell me what the Arabic word for mountain is.
I cannot actually tell you, but I know.
Right, let me tell you something that you might not know.
Okay.
The word Tor is actually a Syriac word for mountain. The Arabic language emerged out of Syriac. It is not an ancient language, and therefore the Quran is created. It is not eternal because the Arabic language is not eternal.
But no, there's different types of Arabic languages.
And which Arabic language is the Quran written in?
It was written in the Hijazi Arabic dialect.
Right, right. Which emerged when?
When the Prophet Muhammad was in the Prophet Muhammad was in Mecca, he received the revelation.
No, Kufic script exists before that.
Yes.
There are Kufic Arabic script before Muhammad, but it doesn't go right back into history. In other words, the Kufic Arabic script is a development of who? The Nabateans. And they used a Syriac language.
Please, and it's below in English as well, you know.
Right, verily we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran in order that you may understand.
Yes.
Now that means that demonstrates that Arabic was not the original language of humanity. Because for it to be sent down in that Arabic means that Allah is making a choice about a language that is developed. And as it has developed, we can see where it developed from, and that's Syriac. So what's your proof that ancient man spoke Arabic?
Because in the old times, there were different types of Arabics. There were different Arab groups, like the Moabites, and there were groups inside different places in Arabia where they spoke different types of Arabic. And it's still Arabic, but just some words are different, some words are the same. Do you understand?
Do you understand the difference between a claim and an evidence?
I don't have any evidence.
Yeah, exactly. You don't
That's
have
because
any
we're
evidence
that.
because all you're doing is repeating claims that you've heard in the masjid. Adam, you need to start thinking. You need to start thinking deeper because the masjid is filling your head with lies, bro. Arabic is not an ancient language. It is a development of the language of the Nabateans, based from Petra. And we can see that because the Syriac script, which is an Aramaic script, which is the language of Jesus. You know, Jesus spoke Aramaic, right?
Yeah, he does.
Right. So Aramaic is a Syriac language, and it develops into what we know as Hebrew today, and Arabic. In other words, Arabic is not an ancient language, it evolved. And if the Arabic language evolves, that means that the Quran is not eternal.
So Arabs, and so therefore they would speak in the
Sorry?
same language. The Canaanites.
The Canaanites were Arabs. No, they were not.
They were.
That's another claim. Where's your evidence?
If you research it, it was.
Where's your evidence?
They were a Semitic group, they were Arabs.
Your
They
problem.
came before the Israelites, they were Arabs.
You're not even Arab. Where are you from?
I'm from Morocco and Iran.
North what?
Morocco.
Morocco. You're probably a Berber. You've been Arabized, bro, through Arab imperialism that came in the 7th century, and you've been brainwashed into thinking that Arab culture is superior to the Berber culture. It's not. Let me be clear. Let me be very clear. Not everyone who's Semitic is Arab. That is some kind of ideology that comes from Arab imperialism.
They came from
The
there.
Semitic groups, Semitic languages predate the idea of the Arab.
They were.
The Semitic language and Semitic culture is just a reference to the Orient and to certain languages that have certain kinds of script and linguistic families. It doesn't mean blood. So you are inventing this idea that Canaanites were Arabs. That's not true, because you believe, don't you? You believe that the Arabs are the descendants of Ishmael, correct?
The Arabs are descendants of Ishmael.
Correct?
Yeah.
Right. Well, if Arabs, as you believe and I believe, are the descendants of Ishmael, well, that's a separate bloodline from Canaanites. Canaanites weren't descendants of Abraham. Are you trying to argue that Canaanites were descendants of Abraham?
There are different types of Arab groups, like I said.
You've not answered my question. Are you arguing that Canaanites are descendants from Ishmael?
Yes, most
Right.
of them.
Okay. Can you evidence that?
Yes, the
Go on, then.
evidence is that Ishmael in the Bible, when he left Sinai, he went to Mount Paran. Mount Paran is pretty much in the Canaanite kingdom.
That doesn't
Therefore-
prove anything. That doesn't prove a damn thing. All you're doing is making one claim after another claim. You've got to learn the difference between claims and evidence.
Moabites, which are a Semitic group, also have the same DNA.
How about this? There's no such things of Arabs. There's no such things as Arabs. Arabs are just a category of Moabite.
No, Moabites
Is that wrong?
of Arabs.
Is that wrong?
Yeah,
Right, why?
because Moabites are a group of Arabs.
You've got to evidence that. You can't claim it.
Yes, because
Evidence
at the
it.
same time there were different types of
Maybe
groups
someone
of
can help
Arabs.
you.
I don't have any evidence on me.
Exactly, you don't have any evidence. You're just making up claims.
Yes, because I don't have my friend died.
That's not my problem, bro. If you're going to make a claim, you've got to evidence. So let's return to a topic that you can handle, Adam. Okay? Because no offense, bro, you don't understand the difference between a claim and an evidence. All you're doing is, I've made one claim, and then to prove my claim, I'm going to make another claim, and then to prove that claim, I'm going to make another claim. That proves nothing. Okay? Now, the reality is, in terms of the Arabic language, we can see its development. Here's the evidence, right? Note the difference. Would you agree with me that the classical Arabic that we find in the Quran today is not the same or identical to the Kufic Arabic in which it was first written at the time of Muhammad? Yes. So is that not proof, therefore, that the Arabic language evolved?
No, it didn't.
Oh, it isn't. So if it didn't evolve...
Some groups have different types of Arabic, and some other groups have the same Arabic. They're all
So
different
is
groups
the
of different
classical
Arabics.
Arabic of your Quran identical to the Kufic Arabic that was seen by Muhammad's own eyes?
The
No.
Arabic, no, yeah, probably.
No, it wasn't. Stop lying. Why? Because the marks that are made above and below the consonantal texts that to our untrained eyes look like little dots and dashes, those were invented later. They were put into the Quran later. In other words, the text of the Quran changed, ladies and gentlemen. And furthermore, as all Muslims boast, the Arabic language evolved because of the Quran. The Quran became a standardizing force about Arabic grammar. And Muslims are the ones that make that boast, not me. But that admission demonstrates that the Arabic language was evolving. And if the Arabic language was evolving, it wasn't an eternal language.
Maybe you should explain the word
They killed many Iranians to learn Arabic, but they couldn't read it.
Yeah, I mean, in Iran, they were just,
Our language.
yeah.
We tried to get it off.
The Iranians were Arabized just like the Moroccans.
Yeah, and
You gotta
we
free
were
yourself from
also
Arabization.
Romanized, we were also done. The Romans,
Decolonize your mind.
the Romans also done the same thing to Morocco. The Phoenicians done the same thing to Morocco. Every single group done it to Morocco. Yeah,
Was it wrong?
yeah.
Right, so was it wrong when the Arabs did it?
No, because the Arabs had two different types of.
Did you hear that?
The Arabs had two different.
It wasn't wrong when the
What was
Arabs
that?
did it.
What
It was
was
okay.
that spread
Was it
as well?
bad? Was it bad when the French did it?
Yes.
Was it good when the Arabs did it?
No. They
So it
didn't
was
kill
bad when the Arabs did it.
Did the Arabs kill anyone?
Yes, loads of people.
That's because there was wars, civil wars going on
So
there.
does that justify the Arabization of Morocco?
If they're fighting the Arabs, then yeah.
There you go. In other words, if you're fighting the Arabs, it's okay for the Arabs to colonize you. That's what a colonized mind looks like. That's what Arabization looks like. Muslims in this park say I'm lying, that Arabization doesn't exist. This is what an Arabized mind looks like. If you're fighting the Arabs, it's okay for the Arabs to colonize
The
you.
Berbers were fighting each other, and then what happened is the Arabs were trying to have stopped it by taking the land. They didn't do anything wrong.
You are a colonized mind. Let's actually tell you what really happened. The Arabs invaded lands that were not their own, and they persecuted the Berbers, whose land it was, until they stopped being Christian.
No,
That's actually what happened.
Berbers were never Christian.
Yes, they were.
They were forced to be Christian, but most of them never even accepted Christianity. They were mostly pagan.
Wrong.
Yes,
That's
it was.
a lie. He doesn't even know where his own people come
Berber
from.
mythology, yeah.
The Berbers were a tribe that migrated after their invasion of the Roman Empire. They came across the Ural Mountains, they came across Germany, they were Aryanized by the Aryans, they invaded France, they went down through Spain, and then they crossed over the Mediterranean, and they finally settled in the Kabul Mountains and in what is now called Morocco and Tunisia and Algeria. And then the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, converted huge swathes of them
killing them
to the Christian faith,
by murdering
though
them.
many of them remained Aryans. Now, then the Muslims come in the 7th century and destroy the church in North Africa by invading the Berbers. Now, was it violent? Was it wrong when the Christians persecuted the Berbers?
Yes, it was.
Was it wrong when the Muslims persecuted the Berbers?
Yes.
There we go. That's the process of decolonization.
Muslims and Arabs.
Right.
They can't.
Any persecution is wrong.
Yeah.
What's the
Great. Now we've established that any persecution is wrong.
Right.
Does that mean we should condemn a holy book if it legitimizes religious persecution?
Yes.
Great. So you'll join me. Brilliant. So you'll join me in condemning the Quran, which legitimizes
No, it
religious
doesn't say that.
persecution,
Yeah,
and condemning the Hadiths, which legitimizes religious persecution.
Show me a verse.
Agreed?
Show me a verse in the
Yes,
Quran that
if there's
says.
a verse in the Quran that says religious persecution. Yes.
Great.
Can we get it?
Great. Yes. Let's look at it. So what's your name, bro?
Yasin.
Yassine, welcome to the conversation. Right. You've asked me to show you a verse that justifies religious persecution.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the Hadiths, my argument is going to be that in the Hadiths and the Quran, it justifies... Are you a
I'm
Quranist?
not familiar with the Hadith.
Are you a Quranist?
Quranist means like follow the Quran? Yeah.
That you reject Hadith?
No, I don't reject it.
Do you accept Sahih al-Bukhari?
Yes.
Do you accept Sahih al-Muslim?
Yes.
Great. Then those are the Hadiths that we'll use.
Okay.
However, ladies and gentlemen, Yasin said he'll condemn a holy book if it justifies religious persecution. So, here it is. In Surah 9, 39, 29, it says this. Fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and his messenger, nor acknowledge the religion of truth from amongst the people of the book, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued.
Read it in context.
Subdued.
So which verse is it?
That's Surah 9, 29. Firstly, my question to you, Yazin, is what are you commanded to do to the people of the book? It's a really simple question, guys.
2 minutes.
Can you make it a multiple choice?
Okay, whilst they're having a confab, you have your confab.
Yeah.
The verse says, fight against the people of the book until they believe what you believe. That's the first aspect of religious persecution. The second aspect is fight them until they pay the jizya and feel themselves subdued. Right, go on, what's your reply? What's your name?
I can't share that. It's secret.
Okay, fair
Dave,
enough.
his name is Dave. Let's go on Dave. Doesn't matter.
Dawood.
No. Anyway,
So that,
you said 929, right?
Yeah.
929, religious persecution. But
Yes.
I don't think you look at context. Because in 913,
Yeah.
it says, would you not fight a people who broke their oath and determined to expel the messenger, and they had begun their attack upon you for the first time?
their attack upon you.
Yeah.
So clearly,
That's self-defense.
not
Right,
religious.
Hold on one
No,
second.
it's not.
Hold on
Religious
one second. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
The group that it's talking about was the Jews in the Kaaba, was it not?
I'm Christian.
No, there were no Christians in the Kaaba.
No, not just
It
the
doesn't
type.
say that. It doesn't
No, this is what your hadiths and your commentaries upon that
Well,
surah
this is the
say.
Quran, so let's
Yeah.
stick to the Quran.
Right?
Yeah,
Let's
anyway.
stick to the Quran.
Yeah, and as you can see, if you go back to 913, you can clearly find the context.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let me give you, because he's saying that I am lying about the text.
No, I'm not
lying.
saying that.
We're
I'm
saying
saying you've
context.
ignored the context.
Dawood, listen.
My name is
Listen.
not Dawood.
He's
Dawood.
anonymous. He's
Right.
Anonymous.
Dawood, listen. Now,
You ruined my image.
Dawood,
But it's 'cause your
listen.
actual name is
Yassine,
David,
listen.
so it doesn't matter.
I'm going to read to you the commentary of Ibn Kathir. Do you know who Ibn Kathir is?
Yeah.
You do. Who's Ibn? Tell your brothers. Who's Ibn Kathir? No, it's not hadith.
And also,
Right. So let me.
after this,
Wait. 1 second. 1 second, Dawood.
I watched
One,
the stuff
one,
in it.
Dawood.
It's a
1
tough
second, Dawood.
I'm not.
Right? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quote Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir is a Muslim classical commentator who is revered by Muslims, used by Muslims. This is what Ibn Kathir says about 929. Therefore, Allah has instructed the Muslims to fight. Everybody say fight.
Right. Reading context.
To fight the people and encourage them to do so because they call the people to the religion they follow and cause a great deal of harm to people, as people may be deceived by them because of their being people of the book. In other words, Ibn Kathir is saying that because I am a Christian and I invite everyone to become a Christian, I may deceive people. And so Ibn Kathir is saying that Allah encourages these three to fight me so that I don't deceive any of you. Now let me ask you this question.
Can we answer to it?
Do you know better than Ibn Kathir? Here.
No, probably not. But why did
Bro,
some Christians live with
oh,
Muslims?
also-
Hold on. Why were some Christians allowed to live with Muslims then in certain societies?
Great.
In Spain,
Let me address
without
that question.
getting killed?
Fair question.
Right.
His argument is, he's asked a question.
And
Well,
even
if
right
you,
now,
he wants me to ignore your question, should I?
why would you ignore my
He wants to, there you go. So he's telling you he wants me to answer his question. There you go. You need to pay
Even here in
attention.
Britain,
So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to listen
why
better.
did some Christians live
So,
with Muslims
I'm
in
going to
certain
answer that
societies?
question. So, ladies and gentlemen, why did some Christians end up living with Muslims? Because Muslims invaded their lands and
Why
they
did they continue
didn't
living
feel, I'm going to answer that, and they didn't feel that they wanted to leave, ladies and gentlemen. But that brings me on to the second aspect of 929 and about why this verse teaches religious persecution. Because the verse says that you must fight them until they pay the jizya and feel themselves subdued. Or, as some translators have it, feel themselves humiliated. In other words, the jizya tax is connected to the subjugation of Christians, that they become second-class citizens
Why did they stay?
in an Islamic state
Some of them stayed for hundreds of years documented.
as oppressed people.
Yeah, but why?
Because it was their land and they didn't want to leave. I literally have answered your question. Now he doesn't believe me, so I invite him to come with me. I invite you to come with me to a Coptic church. Let's ask the Coptic Christians of Egypt whether they felt oppressed under Muslim rule. let's go together to a Syrian church and ask the Syrian Christians whether they felt oppressed under Islamic rule, because they did. Let's ask the Chaldean Christians of Syria and ask to see if they felt oppressed under Islamic rule, because the thing is, he says they don't. But I've spoken to the indigenous people and they are telling me that they are, ladies and gentlemen. So how would you like to reply to that?
My reply is that.
Okay, your reply.
I've told you, right? I've given you the context. I don't know why you ignore it though. You ignore the context.
Right.
Take it in holistically, right? Compare the two quotes. What did they show you? Read 9:13.
Right.
Read 9:13.
Let's no. Two things. One.
No, you have to read 9:13.
No, we are.
You go back to 9:29 over and over again.
Right.
To
So
understand the
I'm
chapter,
going to give
need read
you
the entire chapter. Not one verse.
I am going to give you the context to 9:13. It is that the Jews had made an oath not to have war against the Muslims. They apparently, according to the Muslims, broke that oath.
Which Muslims?
The Muslims that were following Muhammad at the time of Muhammad. Yes. And then Muhammad started fighting them.
All these Christians.
Didn't they?
Every single Christian.
Right?
Explain that again.
Didn't he?
All civilization.
Right? Now you're listening, Dawood.
No, I wasn't following.
Right?
Explain that again.
So I'll say it again, the context, because you really need to pay attention.
Some people became
Right? The context is that the Jews broke their oath to Muhammad and started fighting against Muhammad when he was fighting against the pagans in Mecca. And then Muhammad receives this verse justifying his fight against the Jews. Okay? But so that's the context of your context.
Yeah.
But the verse isn't read just to speak about those Jews at that time. Because what it says, it doesn't say fight those who break their oath.
It does.
Listen, it says fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day. So what are you as a Muslim instructed to do by 9:29? What are you instructed to
You
do?
have to read it in context
So
from
are you
9:18 to
telling me, right?
9:29
So
to 9.
you have two interpretations here,
Yeah.
two choices. One is that in the context of history, right?
Yeah.
It meant to fight the people who broke their oaths. Or two, it quite literally means international non-stop jihad. You don't see me fighting you here. So I don't
can't.
think the second one.
You can't because you don't have the power to.
Don't worry.
Right. So you say it's a dispute between me and you. No, it's a dispute between you and classical Islamic commentators. Let me give you the tasfir of Al-Sadi. Al-Sadi says, this verse says, the point of this fighting is so non-Muslims then turn over their wealth that is given in return for Muslims not fighting them and allowing them to stay amongst the Muslims, granting them safety for their lives and property. Sayyid ibn Musayyab, As-Suyuti, Zamakhshari, Ibn Kathir all agree with that point. Classical Islamic commentators are the ones arguing with you, not me.
No, you are agreeing with me.
Well, I'm quoting your classical
They're
commentators.
quoting one quote here.
Do you know Al-Sadi?
I'm also showing you the second quote.
Do you know Al-Sadi?
This is the thing I'm doing that you're not doing.
Do you know Al-Sadi?
Let me. You've talked.
Go on.
You've done this thing where you've gone to one quote, right? You've gone to one quote and looked at one quote, not at the context. I've looked at both.
Yeah.
I've looked at both 9:13 and 9:29. I've heard the same 9:29 argument over and over again.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard for you to understand, right? That if in context, if in 9:13, if this chapter says, like, you know, to fight the Jews if they've broken the oath, right?
Yeah.
How can you then like take that one quote, right, which clearly like, you know, suggests fighting in a much more self-defense type, you know? How can you suggest that then, like, you know, indicates that Muslims have to show religious persecution to all other religions?
Right.
You can't take that extension. It's a ridiculous extension.
No. So here's the problem, Dawood. Right? Yeah. Here's the problem. Don't worry, I got stuck with Bob because somebody else called me Bob. So don't take it personally, right? But you can be called Bob if you want, right? But Dawood, the problem is, right? You're offering up your tafsir on 9:29 by saying it needs to be read in context of 9:13. I am offering to you the tafsir of Ibn Kathir. the Tasfiyah of Al-Sadi, the Tasfiyah of Sayyid ibn Musayyib, the Tasfiyah of As-Sayuti, the Tasfiyah of Samakshari, the Tasfiyah, as I said, of Ibn Kathir. And now I'm going to give you another one, the Tasfiyah of Qubti. Right, listen what he says. These verses are given as a general statement. Did you hear that? As a general statement, and the order to fight the people of the earlier revelations until they pay the jizya, until they pay the submission tax with a willing hand and are subject and are subdued is also of general import. In other words, all of the great Muslim scholars that you now want to chuck under the bus are all telling you you're wrong. They're all telling you that this is a general teaching that calls you to fight the Christian because the Christian is not a Muslim. Right? Now, the point is, you are entitled to chuck them under the bus. And if you're willing to say that they are all wrong, then I will engage with your argument. But unless you are willing to say on camera that Samakshari was wrong, that Ibn Kathir was wrong, that Musayyabi was wrong, that Suyuti was wrong, that Ibn Kathir was wrong, that Qubti was wrong, unless you are willing to say that they are all wrong, then I think I'm on good grounds by believing their tasfiyah over your tasfiyah.
Ibn Kathir.
I'm not saying they're wrong at all.
Thank you.
I'm not saying they're wrong. But I'm saying you've gone to one verse again. It's the one verse thing. Look, you could bring up the tasfiyah of 913 then. Bring up the tasfiyah of all of those, all of those interpreters, right? On 913. Bring that up. What would that suggest? Bring up tasfiyah on the entire...
Many different.
You're the one making the argument.
Well, no, you've boasted about your amazing lists of many Muslim theologians, right?
Who have quoted 929 and given their understanding of
Amazing.
it. Brilliant,
And I want
thank
them
you.
for 913 as well.
But do
I
you
want
disagree
them-
with them? Do you disagree with them?
No, because I'm saying...
There you go.
I'm saying you should go to 913.
So let's be clear. You're saying Dawood, you're saying you don't agree with Qubti, who says that this is a command of general import.
I'm saying that if you go to one verse, again, the one verse thing, my favorite thing on earth, look, one verse. out
Well
of one
practiced by the Dawagandists.
What?
Carry on.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, but look, when you go to one verse out of one chapter, you can't then make that as like a complete instruction to every Muslim everywhere. It can't be that. Because if that was the case, what would the same theologians have to say about the earlier verses? Which clearly don't suggest that.
Right. So Dawood, in reply to your comment,
Yeah?
I have never said that every single Muslim should do this at every point in their
I'm not
life.
saying you should
Right.
do it, but you're saying that they
But
suggest
what I want to point out now is your duplicitousness.
What's that?
It's when you
I know
when you
what
make
it
a
is, but
two-faced argument.
I know, but like, what is
Right? I want to ask you very clearly, right? Qubti, in his tasfiyah of 929, says this: these verses are given as a general statement, and the order to fight the people of earlier revelations until they pay the submission tax with a willing hand and are subdued is also of general import.
Yep.
Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Agree, and because if you look at
You agree.
Look at this. No,
Thank you.
wait, look at the statement. Earlier revelation. What's the earlier revelation? 913. Clearly.
No,
It's
the earlier
referring-
revelation, the people of the earlier revelation, listen carefully.
Where does it say
says, fight the people of the earlier revelation.
The people.
Who's
of the
that?
Earlier revelation. Look,
Who's the
you
people?
You said.
The Alim al-Kitab.
You said the earlier revelation. You said from
I'll hold
913.
my Quran.
Sure. You're in the verse 913. You said it was the Jews who broke their oath.
Yes.
The prophet. Yeah. How is that not the people of the earlier revelation?
You're not listening to Qubti, are you? Qubti says, and you've already admitted that you agree with it, so you've kind of exposed yourself. Listen, Dawood.
Right?
Listen. It says is of general import. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Of general import. What does that mean?
Of general import.
Yeah, when something is of general import.
General instruction.
Yeah, it's a general instruction manual that's applicable to all applicable on a continuous basis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Qubti, who you agree with, says that this passage about fighting the people of earlier scriptures is a general instruction to Muslims today.
But clearly, look, if you like take your magnifying glass and zoom it onto Qutbi's quote on this, right? And if you ignore what Qutbi may have
You
said,
pull up quote for 913 from Qutbi because that's your argument.
Look,
It's not my job to help your argument. You do it.
You're like the expert with all these like theologians.
Why are you frightened to pull up his tasfir? Pull up his tasfir, see what he says.
I can't play.
Why not? Can't you just pull up tasfir of Quran?
Which one? How
Let's see if we can
can't
do it.
find that in
Let's
3
see.
minutes to look at-
I'm gonna prove you wrong that you can do it in 3 minutes. Well, maybe not 3 minutes. We're gonna pull up the tasfir for 913, and let's see if people
for each and every single one
let's
people you
people and let's verse and bearing in mind you're sunk now, right? Because you've agreed with Qutbi. You've agreed. Let me ask you this question.
floating.
Let me ask you: do you agree with Sadi, who says the point of this fighting is so non-Muslims then turn over their wealth that is given in return for Muslims, not fighting them and allowing them to stay amongst the Muslims, granting them safety for their lives and property? Do you agree with Al-Sadi that that is what the verse means?
I don't actually think that is what it means.
What?
You know,
I don't think it is what that means for this specific one there, this guy's quote.
So you disagree with Al-Sadi?
Where's the mention of like money and stuff
You disagree with Al-Sadi?
on this quote? I think
It says it money. It's the money is the reference. Where's the money in 929? It's reference to the jizya. What's the jizya?
tax,
What's the tax connected to? Money.
the government.
So it's connected to money.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it is connected to money. Yeah? The problem is, Dawood, is that you want to make Islam into something that it's not. And I think that that is a good thing, because I think that you're better than your book. If you don't want to fight unbelievers because they're just Christians and Jews, then you're a better person than your book allows you to be. And that's a good thing. But now it's unfortunate that Yassine checked out of this debate.
I actually didn't come in to discuss this. I watched one of your earlier videos about slavery, right?
Right.
And I was itching to respond. You claim that Muslims.
So you want to close down this conversation?
Because I
Hold on one second. I'm not saying I agree to close down this conversation. I just want to check that you want to close down this conversation.
Because I came in to discuss something else.
Yeah? Yeah, you burst into this conversation that he was having. So I want to point out in Sahih al-Muslim, Muhammad says, and I want to ask you if you agree with this or not. Right?
If I answer this right, can we move on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'll have a final comment, but then this is in Sahih Muslim. It says this: Muhammad speaking, "I have been commanded to fight against the people until they testify that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and they establish prayer and pay zakat, and if they do it, their blood and property are guaranteed protection on my behalf, except when justified by law, and their affairs rest with Allah." Is Muhammad an example to you in that statement?
Where was this cited?
In Sahih al-Muslim, Hadith 36 and Hadith 33.
What's significant about it?
I'll read it again. This is Muhammad. He is saying, "I have been commanded to fight against the people until they testify that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and they establish prayer and pay zakat, and if they do it, their blood and property are guaranteed protection on my behalf, except when justified by law, and their affairs rest with Allah." My question to you again is Muhammad an example to you in that statement?
If I was living in
7th century.
7th century Arabia,
So you're saying that he's not an example for you today?
Yeah, because I'm not going to find anyone.
Great, you're better than Muhammad. Well done.
okay, moving on. Because I want.
Is that protection of rights? Because you talk about protection of rights if they pay their taxes.
You let him burst in. So no, the Muhammad is saying, you burst into his conversation. He can burst back in.
Right, you want me?
Right.
I can go if you want.
Yeah.
It's fine, because I want to move on to something else.
Dawood.
Oh, you want to move something?
Dawood. Yassine.
Dawood.
Yeah. Well, you called him Dawood, not me. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yassine.
Yeah.
Right? I've demonstrated that your book legitimizes religious persecution. Will you now condemn it?
Not to me.
And why not, Yasin? Because you stopped talking and you walked off.
I was talking to
You read it
people
out.
that
Yeah,
were
because
supporting
you no. What? Sorry.
I was talking to the people that were supporting you. And
No,
walk off.
because you entered into a conversation. You asked me to prove something, and then when I was demonstrating the proof, you walked away.
Sorry, can you demonstrate it again?
Thank you. So let's do it again. So, in
said verse 29,
in
first one I remember.
9:29.
Right, but
Right.
I showed you verse 13 of
Yeah,
the
we've
same
gone
surah.
through that. You should have been here. So now
Well,
my
how did you
question
go
is,
through
my
that?
question is this: if the British government
Right.
was to impose upon the Muslims a differentiated tax on account of them being Muslims that could be higher than taxes given to Christians, would you call that a discriminatory tax?
That's the only condition, just because we're different.
And if you don't pay it, we're going to take your children, we're going to take your wives,
that take the
we're going to
children
take
and
your property.
Show me that.
Okay, so are you?
Show me that take the children, wives, property. Show me.
So
Show me
what
that take it.
what is the jizya tax?
The jizya tax, regardless of what it is, you only pay it as a Christian or Jew. Then you don't have to fight for the country. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. The other rights that everyone has to be abiding by, you don't do.
And what happens if you don't pay it?
Right now, who even pays jizya tax?
What happens if you don't
I
pay
don't
it?
know.
Yeah,
it
good.
doesn't even talk about it.
Because the world has become a better place because we have abolished the jizya tax.
No.
And the world is better
I
without
don't know
it.
even if the world is better.
The world is a better place without the jizya tax.
I don't
Do you know what the Pact of Umar is?
Pact of Umar.
Yeah, the Pact of Umar. Yeah?
What's the pact?
The Pact of Umar. It is an early forgery within Islam that was accredited to when Umar took over Christian lands.
What did he forge?
Well, we don't know who forged it. I think most hadiths are forged. But in the Pact of Umar, it restricts the restoration of places of worship. It says that Christians can't ride on saddles. It says that Christians couldn't have hanging swords on their shoulders.
So what do I search up to confirm this?
Yeah, you go and look up the Pact of Umar. Yeah, the Pact of Umar. Now, also, while you're doing it, it'd be much more helpful for you to look at what the jizya tax is, because the jizya tax is clearly referenced in the Quran. The jizya tax is protection money. If we don't pay the jizya tax, our lives, our property, and the lives of our children and wives become forfeit. Did you know that?
No.
Well, I'm educating you about your deen now.
I will confirm that too.
Yeah, please do. I'll wait for you to confirm.
The Pact of Umar is a treaty that established the rights and obligations of non-Muslims.
Correct.
Why would you want to even have rights and obligations for non-Muslims if you're going to subjugate them anyway?
Because you can subjugate people through rights, even Jews in the Third
But
Reich.
why would you? You have the sword and you have control over their lands.
Because
Why even give them rights?
different people practice injustice in different ways. Let me give you an example.
Right.
Hitler, when he oppressed the Jews,
You didn't give them any rights.
he did give them rights.
Like what?
Yes, they could live in the ghetto. They were allowed to trade a certain amount. They were allowed to do certain kinds of work.
Before you
They
send
were
them to the
allowed to
camps?
marry one another. So the point is, they were allowed rights.
And then you took them away and sent them to the camp.
Yes, indeed.
Well, Islam never did that, so it's a bad example.
No, it's
not
but
similar.
no. Yasin, I'm sorry you can't follow an argument, but let's be clear. The Pact of Umar does this. It restricts the rights of Christians and turns them into second-class citizens.
That's not what it says here.
Well, let's go into it. This is the kind of things that it says. It says that Christians can't restore places, it can't repair.
As a request for protection of Christians and Syria. Protection.
Yeah,
of
that's the
Christians.
preamble given commentary.
This is AI.
What are the rights? What are the actual rights? What restrictions does the Pact of Umar? Because I can Google it as
So
well.
head tax in exchange for protection and exemption.
What
from
does it
military
say
service.
about the
I'm saying-
repairing of churches?
You said all laws, right?
Oh
Said
my
all
gosh.
rules. A head tax, that's the jizya tax you were talking about.
Thank you.
For Jews and Christians.
Correct.
In exchange for
Yes.
protection and exemption from military service. So you're not just paying
Protection
tax.
from who?
From other countries. From other
No,
wars with other
protection
countries.
from the Ummah.
No, that's not what
Protection
it says.
from Muslims. Look,
That's not what it says.
I'm going to give you one more chance to read honestly what he's saying in the Pact of Umar, or I'll just get it myself.
You're his friend, right?
Yasin, listen. Yasin. Yasin, listen.
You support his argument?
Yasin.
You want to read it?
Yasin. How about I read it?
Okay, read it.
Right.
Read it.
Listen. Let's look
Read
into it.
One by one.
1 second.
One.
Let's. May I?
I'm not that good, bro.
May I? Okay.
Please. I don't want to
Is
get
this
phony, bro.
is this AI?
You can
Right.
read any note.
Here's the thing. The Pact of Umar says, and this is what he didn't want to read, the prohibition of Jews and Christians from holding government office. Now let me ask you this question. If we passed a
As a
law...
Muslim become prime minister?
Yes,
No.
yes, yes. Let me ask you this question. Yassine.
No.
Yassine, yes you can.
Muslim Arab.
Yes.
Okay, Muslim Arab. Can a Muslim Arab become a British prime minister?
What's his name again?
No, I'll show you.
Wait. So it's your phone, sorry.
Yeah,
I
no
can't
problem.
point.
No.
Right?
Because you're showing a point.
So here's the point. Yassine doesn't understand the country his parents migrated to. Because unlike me, in a Muslim country, Yassine can become the Prime Minister of this country. But no Christian migrant to Saudi Arabia could ever become the ruler of Saudi Arabia. And the proof is in Humza Yusuf, who became the first Minister of Scotland, who was a Muslim. We've had Muslim ministers of the Exchequer, Muslim foreign secretaries.
No. Arabic Muslim.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the Pact of Umar that Yassine got, it says that Christians and Jews can't join the government. If we passed a law that said Muslims cannot join government, would you say that that was Islamophobic?
Yeah.
Yes. So in other words, if we do it to the Muslims, it's bad. But if they do it to us, it's okay. Do you condemn the Pact of Umar?
I'm still reading. I can't condemn it in 5 minutes.
Can you condemn that law of the Pact of Umar that says,
Which law? Which
the
law?
one that says prohibition on Jews and Christians holding government office? Do you condemn it?
No, you can't condemn it.
You can't condemn it. But you said if I could prove to you religious
You're
intolerance...
talking about now or back then?
1 second.
Because Islamophobia now is different to Jewophobia and whatever.
Christophobia.
Back then, right?
Is Sharia law
It's
applicable
different
all the time?
Yes, it's applicable over time.
So does that law apply today?
This isn't Sharia law.
Can a Christian become a caliph?
Is the Pact of Umar the Sharia law?
Can a Christian become the caliph? Yes, that was their interpretation. That was their fiqh.
No.
That was fiqh.
No, that's not their interpretation.
Do you know
of
what
Sharia
fiqh
law.
is?
No, I don't know what fiqh is.
I mean, I'm having to teach you a lot about your deen here,
That's
Yassine.
fine.
Right?
learn.
Fiqh is the legal, is the opinion about how you apply Sharia law.
Fiqh.
The Pact of Umar is fiqh. And it's practiced by the madhabs. Type in, can Christians rule over Muslims in Hanafi or Hanbali? What's the others? I forget. Maliki or Shafi. Ask can Christians rule over Muslims? In which madhab says that they can do that?
It's the prohibition of Jews and Christians from holding government office.
Correct. And you said if we did that to Muslims, that's Islamophobic.
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then it's different.
So can Muslims hold office, or can Christians hold office over Muslims today under Sharia law?
I'm not sure.
No, they can't. Sharia law prohibits Christians from ruling over Muslims. That's the fiqh of all the madhabs.
What do you mean rule over? Is this a Christian country?
No, not really.
Is Ireland a Christian country?
Nope.
Can you name one Christian country? Anyone name a Christian country? Another Christian country.
The Vatican would be a Christian country.
If I went to live in Poland, for me, sorry for my language.
Right, he's checking. Don't let him check out of this conversation. Well, there is.
I'm saying, as a Muslim right now, if I go live in Poland, you said Christians can't rule over me, right?
Right, I believe in
What
it.
does that mean?
Well, let me give you an example.
Right.
I believe that in a Christian government, Muslims can achieve high office, so long as they implement laws according to Christian principles.
Exactly.
But that is not true in Islam.
Yes.
Muslims
Christian-
can't. Now notice, he's just, before he didn't know, he had to check, but all of a sudden he's stealing my answer to try and make Islam look okay.
What do you mean stealing your answer?
Literally, you're
What do you mean stealing your answer?
about to
I'm using
steal
your
my-
logic against you. You
No.
said Muslims can't live under Christian rule. If I went to live in Poland, am I an effed up Muslim? No. So a lot of Muslims live in Poland. So what does that
Correct.
mean for your argument? that it's stupid.
Yassine, here's what it
And
means.
this is without understanding. So imagine
Here's-
I knew as well.
yeah.
Imagine the other people
You'd
that actually know about the religion. If they came
You'd be
here and
arguing
told you.
different if you understood. But the point is, Yassine, you're trying to just.
So this is not religious subjugation. I'm
It
hearing
is religious subjugation.
I'm hearing people are allowed to live. When the
But they
Crusaders
can't-
were coming
but
in
they
with Islam to
can't
start the country,
enter.
They were killing them.
They
straight.
can't. Yassine.
There was a negotiation.
Yassine,
then.
listen.
So what does that mean?
Yassine, these are sound bites, not arguments. Firstly,
sound bites?
the Muslims under Christian rule live better than under Muslims. Sorry, the Muslims
No,
under
the first
Christian
one's
rule
correct.
live better under Christian rule. The Muslims lived under Muslim rule.
I don't think so.
Yes, they did, ladies and gentlemen. Furthermore, you said it was Islamophobic if we barred Muslims from government. But you won't condemn the Pact of Umar that says that Christians should be barred from high government. I've demonstrated that Islam teaches religious discrimination. Now, all you have to do is condemn the Pact of Umar. Just condemn that rule.
That rule, not the pact.
Yeah, well, if you condemn that one rule, you're condemning the pact. You're saying it's flawed. Will you condemn that rule?
But the rule's talking about back then.
Will you condemn that rule?
Which rule? That
The one
Jews
that
and
says
Christians can
Christians and
be.
Christians can't be in government. Will you condemn that rule?
But it's not even true.
What's not true?
I'll tell you why it's not true.
Right, go on.
Who knows about the story where it was the main physician of the Sultan back in the day? I think in the Ottoman Empire was a Jew. Is the main physician?
He's a physician. He's not in government.
Oh, so it's only a government job.
Well, physicians are not government, bro. No one thinks like that. No one thinks
Okay.
the local GP is in the government.
So if I find any Jew or Christian in governments back then, that denounces everything?
No, I'll give you an example. During the occupation of Spain, the Caliph of the Caliphate of Cordoba allowed Jews to rule over the Muslims.
Oh.
And you know what it resulted in? An anti-Semitic riot that led to the death of 5,000 Jews. And the toppling of that government. That's what it led to.
Hold on.
So let's see.
It was, for example, common before the modern period for non-Muslims to serve in Islamic government, despite the supposed prohibition. Why is that? So what does that mean?
Because when the Muslims invaded Christian land,
Why were some allowed to be in the government?
I'm going to explain.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example.
give me an example.
John of Damascus. And the reason why was because when Muslims invaded Christian land, they invaded lands that already had an administrative structure on top. And the Arabs didn't have the education to do the kind of projects that they wanted to do. And so when they wanted to build a fleet to besiege Constantinople, they didn't have the wit or the education to do that. So John of Damascus was the administrative functionary that managed the building of the fleet, because the Arabs had just come out of the desert and they didn't know the first thing about building fleets. But as Muslims came to dominate, they increasingly pushed Christians out of government.
You said they're not allowed in the government. They were.
The fact that Muslims don't practice Islam properly doesn't mean
That Islam is incorrect.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
very much.
But it doesn't mean
That was
it's
my
true
main
either.
point. Yeah, sure. But that
Right.
was my main point. The Muslims doing a lot of bad
Can
things
you
even
show
this
me?
day.
Can you show me any Islamic fiqh that says that a Christian can rule over a Muslim?
I'm saying if every Muslim believed this and Islam was messed up, why were some Christians and Jews in positions of government
Okay,
and in positions of power?
Yassine, let's come back to the issue that you're running from.
Oh,
What's the
wait, I'm
jizya
running
tax?
now? No, I think I'm done. But
Goodbye,
you were better
Yassine.
than the others. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Mike, you? Your friend? Yeah, y'all witness over his friend?
I'll come back. Yassine, do you have a Bible, bro?
No, I'm Muslim.
Right, I'd like to give you a gift. That's okay. I'd like to give you. I don't believe in the Quran, but You have a Bible at home?
I don't read the Bible. Which Bible?
The
I
Bible.
only have King James Bible.
Yeah, well, that's, if you've got a Bible, you've got a Bible. Brilliant. Have a read of it. Come back and ask your questions when you want to. But let me ask you this question: why have you got a book you don't read?
I have a question.
Oh, you do read.
Not finished. I've read it. Okay. Is it true that the oldest Bible, like the oldest manuscript that you have, is much older than Jesus?
No, that's well. Obviously the Bible comes in two testaments.
I've actually never asked a Christian.
I'm going to answer the question.
No, I know you.
So the Bible comes in two testaments: Old Testament and New Testament. The Old Testament, our oldest manuscripts of the Old Testament come from the 1st century. They're in the Dead Sea Scrolls, so they're contemporaneous to the life of Jesus.
Wait, 1st century?
Yeah, they're contemporaneous.
The
to
Old
life.
Testament?
Yes.
The one that was supposed to be revealed to Moses?
The Old Testament doesn't just refer to the books that were revealed to Moses. It also includes the Psalms of David, which you call the Zabur. It also includes
David
the
and Moses
prophets like Isaiah, who you believe in.
They all lived much before the 1st century.
Correct. But you asked me about the oldest manuscript.
Right.
I'm answering that question.
For the New Testament.
What
is the oldest one?
Let me ask you this question, Yassine.
Answer my question.
I have answered your question.
The New Testament, what is the oldest manuscript that we have?
Are you wanting a fragment or something complete?
Either.
So the oldest, the oldest fragment, you can see it in Manchester, you can go and see it yourself. The oldest
I'm
fragment
about to leave, sorry.
dates to around
Maybe just hold it. until you finish.
125 AD.
125 AD.
Correct.
125 AD.
Now let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Because this isn't a one-way street.
It's not.
What is your oldest copy of the Quran? When is it dated to?
Around 20 years after Prophet Muhammad.
That's
30
a lie.
When is it then?
Your oldest complete Quran,
Yeah.
according to Islamic tradition, is the Topkapi and what's the other one? No, I think it is actually the Topkapi. But the people that date the Quran date it to the 8th century. Now, can you explain to me, Yassine?
568 to 645.
No, these are Pope folios. The Birmingham Pope folios, the manuscripts that were found in Birmingham, are not complete Qurans. I asked you about complete Quran.
It can't be 568 anyway,
Yeah.
because Muhammad wasn't even.
No, dated between them. So obviously
Yes.
it's not 568.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
pretty-
But nothing is dated to the time of Jesus.
do you know why? Do you know why?
A lot of
No,
translations.
because
Jesus is Aramaic, I heard.
Yassine, you just repeating sound bites doesn't help you learn,
What's some?
right? You asked me a question about why is there nothing dated at the time of Jesus?
Yeah.
Like,
how can you check?
Are you
its
listening,
origin?
Yassine?
You have to answer my question.
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting every time I try to answer your question.
You're gonna answer my question.
I'm trying to, but you keep interrupting every time I try to answer
I
your
won't
question.
interrupt you.
So the reason why is that back 2,000 years ago, at the time of Jesus, people wrote on what was called papyrus.
Right.
Papyrus is an organic material. It's not like paper. I know paper is an
Right.
It's essentially leaves. They essentially wrote on leaves. Leaves, by their nature, just rot over time.
So it's lost.
Yeah, it's lost, but that doesn't mean it wasn't copied. Are you aware of that?
What do you mean it wasn't copied?
Well, obviously,
What's
at
the
first
original
copies
writings
are not-
lost?
Can you show me a full Quran from the 7th century? No, you can't.
That wasn't my question.
I'm asking you a question. Can you show me a full Quran from the
You're a
7th
Christian
century?
preaching Christianity. I'm a Muslim coming to learn from you.
But
You're talking about.
no, you're interrupting every question. So you're not here to learn. You're here to
Well, you
make
answered the
arguments.
question, right?
Yes. So
Okay, so that question you answered. Can I ask a follow-up?
yeah, but when you answer my question, I'm asking
Why
you a
not?
question because I'm asking
I'm
you.
not even that informed. You're informed.
Yeah, great. So let me educate you.
Okay, educate.
Right. So you can't a full copy of the Quran from the 7th century.
No,
Now,
no.
please explain to me how, when the Muslims had an entire empire and all. Let me finish. All the resources of an empire at their disposal, that
Those
we
after
can't, and that people were writing on paper in the 7th century, that with all that, you can't find a full and complete Quran from the 7th century. Your earliest Quran comes from a century later. Why? What's going on? Please answer that question.
But it says the fragments found in the Birmingham manuscript.
I said complete copy,
No.
not fragments.
But these fragments, they're in line with what we have today.
No, the
So
common dating is earlier than Muhammad.
Right. But the one you talked about, oldest Bible, 125 AD, which isn't full, I just searched about it.
It's a fragment.
Yeah. That fragment, it says some verses are left out. Is that true?
No, that fragment doesn't say that at all.
No, not the fragment. It's what Google said. Google says that modern scholars don't agree that some verses weren't left out.
Right, you're confusing two different things there.
Explain it.
Right. So, firstly, you've got an issue in Islam. You have no complete Quran in the 7th century.
Right?
Despite
Christianity
the
doesn't
fact-
have a full.
Despite
we're
the
both
fact,
here, right?
despite the fact that you had the power of an empire and people were writing on paper.
No, Muhammad came.
Now let me explain why that's a problem. Now let me explain why that's a problem.
Military came left.
Because when Christianity the Roman Empire in the 4th century, and suddenly we found ourselves with the power of an empire, what emerges? The first complete copies of the Bible. You can see them today. You can go to the British Library
That's 400
and you
years.
can go and see the Codex Vaticanus and the Codex Sinaiticus. They are earlier than Islam. The moment the Christians had the power of an empire, we suddenly see full Bibles appearing. But yet Muslims are telling us they had the power of an empire, but yet they haven't managed to preserve a single Quran from the 7th century when we managed to preserve a Bible from the 4th century when we had the power of an empire.
But
Why?
that's- I'll
What's
tell you.
going on?
First of all, Islam didn't start out with the great empire rule that they had, right? Muhammad didn't start out with a great empire.
When did the Muslim
Muhammad had
empire
to-
start?
Is that true or not?
When did
Is it true or not?
Muhammad did
Did
have
Islam-
an empire, yes,
No,
in
no,
Arabia.
No.
Yes, he
Did
did.
he start out with an empire?
Did he conquer Arabia?
No, he didn't actually. Muhammad himself didn't conquer Arabia.
Yes, he
No, he
conquered
didn't.
Mecca.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he
Mecca
conquered
isn't Arabia. And anyway,
The
it
tribes
doesn't
in the
matter
north
because
of
even
Mecca were paying.
that's not
zakat
Arabia
to
though.
Muhammad.
That's not Arabia. A few cities here and there that all had tents living
That
on.
was pretty
on-
much
on
the
Spanish-
population of America. That's an empire, bro. If you rule more than one place as a
That's
ruler,
not what-
that's an empire.
that's not what
It's a
empire
small
means.
empire.
That's not
but
what
it's an
empire means.
empire.
And 400 years after Jesus died, that's a lot of years.
Yes, and you
for
haven't thought
humans-
this through.
What do you mean? You said 400 years, right?
When did Muslims invade
Did
Christian
you say
land?
400 years or not?
When did Muslims invade Christian land?
Why can you never answer my question?
In the 7th century.
I don't know. But 400 years after Jesus died is your oldest manuscript.
No, that is not
No?
true. Listen.
When is the oldest manuscript full?
Right. We got
New Testament.
we got to be clear about the.
No, that's why I'm making it clear.
Right. Yes, we're going to.
So when is it?
So let me educate you about the terms. Manuscript can refer to fragments or
I'm saying
complete
full.
copies.
That's why I said full. You said let's be
Right?
clear. I'm saying
and
full.
I have answered that question.
So 400 years?
It is 4 centuries.
Okay. Well,
When
that's
Christians had an empire.
Let's say both of them had
But
equal.
Muslims had an empire in the 7th century, and you can't provide a Quran from the 7th
Right. So
century.
they were
Why
weak
not?
and stupid and
Why,
whatever.
why did the
But
Quran-
one is
why there
100
no
years late.
Quran?
Okay.
Exactly. Why is
One is
that?
okay. That's fine.
Why is that?
I don't know why it is. One is 100 years late and one is 400 years
So I'll
late.
tell you why. Because Muslims
You see the
changed
difference,
their
though?
Quran and they destroyed
How can you
the
say that?
evidence they
Well,
predate.
there's
predate.
errors in the Bible. There's contradictions in the Bible. There's age contradictions.
Are you aware there are contradictions in the Quran?
No.
Do you want me to show you one?
Yeah.
All right. Let me show you a
But
contradiction.
okay, but while you're showing me, what about
Yeah.
the contradictions in the Bible? How do Christians usually explain that?
It depends
and-
on the contradiction.
Like age contradictions.
It depends on the contradiction.
So you're saying every contradiction has an explanation.
Every contradiction I've encountered has an explanation.
And what about the fact that there's different
now
sects? So
you
some
want
people
you
leave out
wanted me
books
to
and
show
stuff.
you a contradiction. So let me show you a contradiction. Okay? So in Surah 7, 109, Surah 7, 109. Do you want to read it or shall I?
Both.
Okay.
You can read it. I'll read it.
So I'll read it. In Surah 7, 109, it says this. Said the chiefs of the people of Pharaoh, this is indeed a sorcerer well versed. So who's speaking to who? I'll read it in context so you can pick up the context.
Yeah, we need context.
Okay. Pharaoh said, I'm reading from 106. Pharaoh said, if indeed thou hast come with a sign, show it forth. if thou tell us the truth. Then Moses threw his rod, and behold, it was a serpent plain for all to see. And he drew out his hand, and behold, it was white to all the beholders. Said the chiefs of the people of Pharaoh, this is indeed a sorcerer well versed. His plan is to get you out of your land. Then what is it ye counsel? So who's speaking to who?
I don't even know still.
Got to pay
Even with the
attention.
context, yeah.
Not a good listening, Yassine. Look, it literally says it said the chiefs of
Yeah, but to
the
who?
people. Well, he's speaking to Pharaoh because Pharaoh is the one.
Said the chiefs of the people to the Pharaoh?
Look,
What verse is this?
109.
Surah 7.
Slowly. Surah 7, verse 109.
The elders of Pharaoh's people said, surely this man is a skillful magician
So
who
who's
seeks to
speaking to
drive you out of your land.
Who's speaking to who?
The elders of the Pharaoh's people, but I don't know who they're speaking to. It doesn't
Right.
say.
Well, who do you think they're speaking to?
The Pharaohs? The
Where,
Pharaoh
where was
himself?
yeah, exactly, because Moses is in Pharaoh's court,
Right.
right? And Moses and Pharaoh is the ruler. So when
Right.
you're going to address, you're not going to address the common man, the servant. You're going to address who? You're going to address the ruler, aren't you?
Okay.
So they're addressing Pharaoh.
Nice. So,
Am I being fair?
yeah,
Okay.
that's this way.
So that's Surah 7, 109. Let's go to Surah 26, 33. Surah
Then
26.
they advised Pharaoh, put off Moses and his brother for a while, and send forth heralds to your cities to summon every skillful magician to your presence.
Sorry, Surah 6, verse 34. It says, Pharaoh said to the chiefs around him, this is indeed a sorcerer well versed. His plan is to get you out of your land by his sorcery. Then what is it ye counsel? So who said what to who?
Wait, how's that contradiction?
Right. So in one verse,
Yeah.
it said that I said to you. In the other verse,
Doesn't
it
say
said
I.
that you
Doesn't
said
say
to
I.
me.
Didn't say I.
I'm using
I
the-
read the same
Alright.
verses, bro.
Oh, my brother. Oh, you
What
really?
do you mean? You
All
said
right.
I said to you. No, it doesn't.
Pay attention.
I'm paying.
In one verse,
Right.
it said that Pharaoh said to the chief priests, which you can logically
But it
think
doesn't.
of as person A says to person B. In the other verse, it says that the chiefs said to Pharaoh, which is the equivalent of saying person B says to person A. That's a contradiction. It's either person A or person B. Who is it?
And what is he saying? You get it?
Did
Yeah,
you get it?
I understand that.
Did
Yeah.
you
Can you
understand
explain
it?
it?
Yeah, yeah.
Did
Can
you
you explain it?
understand it? Who else was listening? Did you understand
Can,
it?
can
Did you
one of you explain it to me right now
Yassine,
without him saying
how
it?
is it that
No, no,
everyone
no.
around us
Yeah,
understands
yeah.
it except
We're
you?
gonna test it. So everyone's recording. You explain it.
So he's pretty much saying in one instance Pharaoh is speaking, but in another instance it's another person speaking.
To
saying
Pharaoh.
To Pharaoh.
Show me that again.
So it's either Pharaoh speaking or someone speaking to Pharaoh. Which one is it? It's
Right.
a contradiction.
Shall we
So
do this
you
again?
use it, Surah 6:34. Messengers before you have been giving the lie to, and they endured with patience, and they're being giving the lie to and
No,
being
Surah
persecuted until.
26.
This is Surah 26.
26. Yassine, bro, you got to listen. Less pride, less arrogance, more humility leads to more learning. Right? If you weren't so arrogant and so proudful that you're the better man because you're the Muslim,
I already believe
Right?
that regardless, bro.
I know
I'm sorry
exactly.
to say
And
that.
and look what it's done to you.
What?
Your pride has stopped up to your ears. You can't listen.
I heard 6 instead of 26.
Everybody else heard what I had to say. Right, listen. Surah 26, Ayah 34. Pharaoh said to the chiefs around him,
Yeah.
this is indeed a sorcerer well versed. His plan is to get you out of your land by his sorcery. What then is it ye counsel? Who's speaking according to that passage?
The Pharaoh to the chiefs.
The Pharaoh to the chiefs.
And the first one
Now
is-
let's go to Surah 7, verse 1. It does help if I actually go to Surah 7. Bear with us. Sorry, I was back in Surah 9. In Surah, verse 109.
Surah what?
Surah 7, verse 109, said the chiefs of the people of Pharaoh, this is indeed a sorcerer well versed. His plan is to get you out of the land. Then what is it ye counsel? So who said what?
And then it said they advised Pharaoh, put off Moses and his brother for a while, and send forth heralds to your cities to summon every skillful magician to your presence.
So who said
And
what
the
then?
magicians came to Pharaoh and said, shall we have a reward if we
Great.
win?
So who said what? Now answer the question. Who said what?
Oh, Javas do?
Who said these words? This is indeed a sorcerer well versed. Was it the chiefs to Pharaoh, or was it the Pharaoh to the chiefs? Who said those words?
The elders of Pharaoh's people said, surely this man is a skillful magician. Oh, so you're saying that because the Pharaoh said it and the elders said it, that's a contradiction?
Right.
Or
Yeah, it is a contradiction. It is a contradiction.
Why?
And here's why. Listen carefully to the words.
I'm listening.
Right? This is why, and this is where you've just got to think a bit deeper. If you're less arrogant and less proudful, you can learn more. Just think about the logical contradiction of this. That in Surah 9 said the chiefs of the people of Pharaoh, this is indeed a sorcerer. His plan is to get you out of your land. Then what is your counsel? They said. Right? They said.
So it says
Now-
he is indeed a skilled magician.
Yes.
It's a convo.
Right?
It's a
So,
conversation.
correct. But listen,
It's not a contradiction.
if it's
I
they
have
said,
verses in the Bible that say he's 22 and he's 20 and he's 42.
listen.
There's hundreds of these.
So
in
you're
the
saying
Bible.
you're saying they just said the same thing to one another at the
it's a
same time.
conversation. No, does it say they said that at the same time? It doesn't.
Your logic
That's-
is that.
But is that?
Listen-
Show me another one. Show me another.
No. This is fine.
Is
This,
that your
this one
only one?
works. This one works. No, I've got
This
more.
one works.
I've got more.
Yeah.
This one
Can you
works.
show me the other one?
I've got more. This one works. Right?
Or show
So
what?
it's the same point in the
I'm
story.
trying to not be arrogant and learn. I'm asking for another example.
No.
You only
This
have
one's
one?
fine. Okay, we'll say you haven't
only
got.
have one.
We have others, but we'll just park
Can I have
it.
another one?
We'll just
Park
park it that Yassine doesn't have an answer to it.
No problem.
No, we're not. Park it means we're just going to move on to another a contradiction. So let me show you another
That's a go.
contradiction. Let me show you
Live
another
here, huh?
contradiction.
Show me another one.
Right?
This one is
Okay.
a bit weird.
If you do, you need to go.
Soon, yeah.
When-
would you rather have like 5 minutes? Like one more
okay.
maybe.
One more. All right. Here's a contradiction.
Because in
Right.
in the Bibles, I can have
Listen.
hundreds searched up right now.
Listen. Yes, and we can find lots of contradictions in the Quran. Here's one. In Surah 28:88, it says, everything perishes but Allah's face. So what happens to Allah's shin?
Surah 8.
Surah 28:88. Right? Surah 28:88. Yeah.
And do not invoke any other God with Allah. There is no God worthy of worship except Him. Everything is bound to perish except He Himself. All authority belongs to Him, and to Him you will all be
Right.
returned.
In the Arabic, it doesn't say he himself. In the Arabic, it says his face.
His face only.
His face. Everything perishes
Face.
except his face.
In Arabic.
That's what it says. It says he's. I don't think this guy can read the Arabic, bro.
I can actually. كل شيء إلى ولا وجه.
There's a difference between reciting Arabic and I can read
I am
Latin.
the one saying.
That doesn't mean I can translate it.
Memorization.
So everything perishes except his face.
So all these official translations are wrong. So when we get
Wait.
contradictions
Do you
in the
want to pull
Bible,
it? What do
we
you
don't
want?
get it from
Are you
translation.
trying to run away, Yassine?
I'm right here, bro.
You talked about. You wanted to see another
seeing what the
contradiction
police-
in the Quran. So let's talk about a contradiction in the Quran. Yeah. In Surah, is it? Have I got the right place? 26. No, I
Like
haven't.
the contradictions we find in the Bible.
55.
It doesn't have to
You're
do
trying to
anything with
run away from the contradiction in the Quran, Yassine.
Why-
Doesn't
why
help
are you
you.
trying to mess what I'm
Doesn't
saying?
it doesn't help you. Listen,
Speaker's
in
going
Surah
on.
55, 26 and 27 says, all that is on earth will perish, but will abide forever the face of your Lord, full of majesty, bounty and honor.
That's contradictory. Like you says the same thing.
Correct. Now what happens to
Contrary
Allah's
head.
shin? What happens to
Shin?
Allah's hands? What happens to the veil of Allah?
How is that contradiction, brother?
Right, is the veil of Allah created or uncreated?
Now you're asking me, brother.
Right?
Let me go learn. I'll come back to
Yasakadi
you next year.
says, all right, let me give you a gift.
can?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Look, Yassine, to show that I have no hard feelings, Yasin, to show there's no hard feelings, here's a little gift for you to read to start your learning. Feel free to come and talk to me about it again.
Come next week.
All right, no worries. You look after yourself. God bless.